this is a series of videos going into some core physics concepts. The way I have these videos structured is often for a flipped physics classroom, and so I just want to talk about what that means and my recommendation for how you approach and how you use these videos. So when I say the word flipped, what do I mean? I'm going to talk kind of generically. Obviously, different classes and different teachers will have different setups, but almost the most traditional sense of a classroom. What does that look like? You walk on in, the teacher takes attendance. What's going on during that class? Well, often the teacher presents new material, new definitions, new ideas, maybe new equations. You learn and maybe you take notes as the teacher is lecturing or presenting this information. And then, with whatever time is left over, you might start some practice. But then when you go home, what do? At home, you finish those practice problems, or maybe you finish up doing a lab or whatever. So class time, at least a good chunk, again, classically, is spent learning new information, and then any homework that you might have at home is, of course, based on like doing or finishing up those practice problems. When we talk about flipping a classroom from a teacher perspective, these are the two things that we're flipping, such that during class time, we're actually not going to focus on doing these, but instead spending the bulk of our time doing this. This is what a flipped classroom looks at. So I'm actually going to start down here. The idea is that at home, before class, you may be using a video from me or a textbook reading or some other resource. You are going to learn some information, and then you're going to arrive at class maybe the following day or after a weekend. You're going to arrive with some knowledge already under your belt so that we can more quickly jump into practice problems, maybe activities, demonstrations, labs, etc. So we're flipping the classic homework sense. Instead of you doing practice problems at home, we'll try to do those all during class time. And instead of you listening to a teacher lecture during class, you're going to go over some of that same information but at home. In one example, using like YouTube videos, okay? Now, why would we do this? What is the point of a teacher flipping our class? Well, there's multiple reasons. The first is that you can view the notes and the core information as you like. Like if you miss a lecture or you missed a part of the teacher explaining something, it might be challenging or it might be a little awkward to go back and try to learn that info. But if it's a YouTube video, you can just rewatch it or hit pause and go back to the necessary part. It's much easier for you to rewatch that section. If you are absent and you miss, let's say, a classic class where the teacher gives a big lecture one day, if you're absent, oh man, you might feel like you really missed a whole bunch of info and it's really difficult to catch back up. You might feel like you've lost out on something. But if it was a reading or a video set of notes, you can just watch it whenever because you have access to that. It leaves more time for us to practice during class, us doing whatever physics problems that we care to focus on. I'm a big believer in this idea right here that physics is a team sport. You really learn things by socializing and working together, maybe asking for help, maybe struggling together to solve a problem when you have other people in the same boat in your camp. So it's much more worthwhile, in my opinion, to spend class time working and helping with one another to do whatever our goals are, whether it's practice problems or labs, etc., etc. Okay? It also means if we don't have to worry about time going over a lecture, it just inherently means you're going to have bigger opportunities during class to finish whatever classic homework you might have so that you don't have to do that at home. And of course, it can just help us reinforce ideas, again, because we have more time. Me leaving lectures for you to do very briefly at home on your own means we have much more time during class when we're all together to do whatever activities that are going to help us learn the material, okay? Now, what is the format of this going to look like? Okay, so if now you're learning a little bit of material, you're getting familiar with some concepts, some definitions at home, how might that appear? Well, if you're watching this series, then right now you're listening to a video that I've uploaded on YouTube from me. And so certainly that's one way that we might have these notes formatted at home. It could also be reading from a textbook. I know that's arguably the most boring, but if you are interested in pursuing education beyond high school, I'm sorry to say, good or bad, you're going to be familiar. You're going to get a lot of experience reading sometimes very technical ideas from textbooks, whether it's science or philosophy or art. So us practicing and learning from doing some reading is valuable. And then, of course, there's all other things. Every person under the sun can make a video for YouTube, and there's many organizations that make YouTube resources or just other online resources. There might be other readings that we do that aren't strictly from the textbook. So this is a big like other category. Now, one concern I know students have as I'm talking about this idea of flipping is they think, well, okay, what if I have questions about these notes? Or now it seems like a lot is on me. Do I have to become an expert? Am I going to expect a quiz the following day? What is expected of you? Admittedly, this might change depending on your teacher or whatever class this is. But for me, what I tell students is the expectation is this. You watch a YouTube video or you do a little textbook reading. It's not expected that you are an expert at that video, at those topics presented in that video. The idea is that you walk into the following class, this is the big word, familiar. Not a pro, all right, but you are familiar with those ideas so that we can dive into doing the practice. That's the idea. A lot of time in my own classes, after you've watched a video, you're going to come into my own course, sit down, and I'll have the notes, or I'll have a set of notes to help you. So it's okay if you watched a video about, say, velocity and acceleration. Maybe you didn't copy down notes for every little thing, but that's okay. If you are familiar with the ideas, then maybe if I hand out a piece of paper that looks like this and we do some practice problems, you might need to glance at this if you need a quick reminder, but you could dive into the practices because you watched the video or you read a little bit from a textbook before and you are familiar. So that's the name of the game. It's not expected that you're a pro. The expectation is that you are familiar with the topics that are outlined, okay? Almost done with this video, okay? Let me go over some recommendations I have for these notes, okay? For this idea of learning at home, of flipping this idea. I do recommend you take notes, team. Certainly listening can help you learn and be familiar with things. But if you're really trying to maybe get an A or pass this class, the process of you listening, internalizing, and writing down notes is going to help instill this information in your brain. It's going to help you learn it. Okay, try your best to focus. I know things like smartphones are always a distraction. It's easy to have 30 tabs open to do other things, but obviously it probably goes without saying too much. The more you can focus on these videos, the more you're going to get from them. I always try to have my videos be on average of like 12 minutes, okay? These are not going to be hour-long affairs. Also, team, speaking for myself, I know that I can sometimes speak slowly. So if you're watching one of my videos, I at least will always try to give you the opportunity to speed up the video. Maybe try increasing the speed to 1.5. On YouTube, you can do that by clicking on this gear icon. In other websites, like maybe Edpuzzle, if you're familiar with that, there are also opportunities to increase the speed. I try to always give that opportunity because I know sometimes I talk a little slow. I would not recommend you put this to double speed, 2 times speed. I think that's too fast. Okay, but if you're listening, you're like, oh man, this is kind of being a bit of a bore, try increasing the speed because I know at least myself, I can talk a little slow. Okay, last little bit. What is my biggest recommendation? Let's say you're in physics class and you're thinking to myself or yourself, I want an A in this class. I will not be happy with anything less than an A. Or let's say you're in this class and you're like, I have to pass. Maybe you're a senior and you have to pass physics to graduate, or just taking this class again or in summer school is not an option. Either of those things. What's the best way to get ready for class is to do what these 2 images are showing. You're watching the video and you're taking notes, okay? Again, at least in my own class, I will have an option. It's not required normally, but I will have an option and an ability for you to take notes. This is an example of something I might pass out. It's almost like something known as Cornell notes, where you can jot down what you think is helpful to you. I personally do not have a required structure for notes, but if you're watching and jotting down the key ideas for you, again, that's helping you internalize things, okay? So if you're trying to get an A in this class, you're making sure you're going to pass, that's what I recommend. You watch these videos, you have your smartphones put away, okay, you're paying attention, and you jot down notes, okay? Now, admittedly, team, writing down notes and being super methodical maybe isn't crucial. In my tier list, A or B tier, if you're like, hey, if I get an A, great, but I'm happy with a B or a C, to be honest, maybe doing what this person is doing is good enough. what are they doing? They're not writing down notes, but they are watching the video and they are being focused in that process. They are not being distracted. They're not playing Nintendo Switch off to the side while the video is playing. If you are doing this, that could be good enough, especially if you're like, hey, an A is great, but I'm fine with a B. A C is not really a big deal. Maybe you're just paying careful attention as you watch the video. Obviously, the lowest thing on our list, F tier, is not watching the video at all. Then you're just unprepared. Or like, I know there are websites like Edpuzzle that technically track whether you watch the video, but everybody, I know there's 100 ways to get around that, whether it's by artificially speeding it up, or heck, you just have the video going and you walk away, or you're on your phone. But obviously, doing any of those things means you're not paying attention. And if you're in my class, at least, what you need to be able to do is show that you know the physics. And if I'm expecting you to walk into class being familiar with these topics, doing this is just meaning you're unprepared and you're going to be behind while other students are maybe diving into doing some of the practice, okay? So just again, here are my recommendations. Take notes, especially if you're really trying to get an A in the class or you really need to pass the class. That's my top tip, okay? Do your best to focus. And again, I know that I can talk a little slow, so maybe try speeding it up. I wouldn't go to 2 times the speed, maybe try 1.5, okay? Thanks a lot for watching. That's the end of this video.